International law is very clear. Crimea is Ukraine. And I think, if Crimea is given away, then the outcome is that it will just embolden aggressors because it pays off to change the borders by force. And that's why, the international law has been very, very clear.
And yet, the United States seems to be pushing for that as a way to find a resolution to this conflict. How would you assess the role of the United States as a mediator so far in the conversations with Russia?
Well, we, of course, know here very well that Ukraine wants peace, and it takes two to want peace. It only takes one to want war. We see that Russia does not want peace. Russia is the one that is bombing civilian infrastructure, whereas Ukraine has agreed to unconditional ceasefire over a month ago already. So what we need to see is putting more pressure on Russia so that Russia would also want peace. So far, it hasn't been the case.
Talking about putting more pressure on Russia, I would like to understand what the EU can do next. There are growing concerns that the renewal of sanctions might be prevented further down the line by Hungary or Slovakia. I'm wondering what sort of work you're doing at this stage to ensure that sanctions will continue to be enforced on Russia.
Well, first, we are working on the 17th package of sanctions to put more pressure on Russia. And we also try to talk to our friends and allies to do the same in the line with the EU. And then the other part is, of course, the rollover of sanctions, which will happen in June. I think, this is the strong hand that we actually have, again, to pressure Russia. We know that their economy is not doing well, and the sanctions are really hurting them. And why the sanctions are important is to really deprive them of the funds that they are using to fund this war, because we all want this war to stop. We need to concentrate our efforts collectively. But it is true what you're saying, that it's, of course, getting more difficult, and therefore we also are trying to talk to our U.S. colleagues that this is the way to put pressure on Russia, and I think there are some signs that the U.S. might also see this. So,
is there a risk that the EU further down the line might not be able to actually use the frozen Russian assets as a way, as part of the broader sanctions on the country?
Well, it's important. It is something that we have in our hands, and it's important that as long as Russia hasn't paid for the damages that they have caused in Ukraine, we keep this tool and also use this tool if it is possible. Of course, we need to discuss amongst ourselves, but it's important that we don't give this away, because our taxpayers haven't caused the damages in Ukraine. It is Russia that has done it, and Russia should also pay for the damages that they have caused.
Going back to the role of the United States in this whole process, it seems that the Trump administration is actually losing patience over the conversations. They seem to be reassessing whether they should continue dedicating time to these conversations. So my question to you is, what would be the consequences if the United States were to walk away from these peace conversations with Russia?
Well, first of all, America has the tools to pressure Russia, and if losing patience with these talks is, putting more pressure on Russia because they are playing these games, then they could still achieve the things that they promised, during the election campaign and also after, that they will end this war very fast. Ending this war is in everybody's interest, that there is peace, but this has to be a sustainable and long-term peace. And it's not happening if you just give concessions to Russia or give everything that Russia wants, because this will just embolden them to do more and to attack their other neighbors.